Where's our test? Is it going? I guess it's going. Sure. Yeah. Sweet. Let's just get this to a friend of mine. So, Lorcana is the new trading card game from Disney. Though I will say, so one of the things that's been confusing me and a lot of other people is, as I understand it, this is a licensed Disney product. It's not a fully owned Disney product. So they've sold the license to make a Disney card game to a board gaming company called Ravensburger, who traditionally, I think, have made a lot of Disney board games. So they made the Villainous board game, and that's, you know, why. So they have a good and so rather than them making it themselves, it's it's not a Disney made product for Disney by Disney, and that has implications. So we've seen a lot of Disney licensed card games in the past, you know, Star Wars ones especially, which have and haven't necessarily done well based on how well they were managed. So don't assume that just because this has got the Disney brand on that it's 100% a Disney thing. First thing to note, they do come with this sealing thing on the bottom, but they do not come shrink wrapped. That is causing a lot of consternation amongst more traditional TCG players and collectors. Shrink wrapped boxes are safe. These are not. It is possible to take boosters out of the side of these boxes because they are not shrink wrapped. So if you're buying boxes from an untrusted source, I would count the number of packs you see before you settle down to opening them. I bought these from a online retailer who is big and trusted in the UK, so we're not particularly worried about there not being enough packs or there being tampering with the box, but I will still do the same thing. In terms of box feel, the boxes feel pretty solid. You know, I like the fact that they seem to have, you know, good artwork and stuff like that. I will say there's no mention on the box. It's up here, okay, 24 booster packs, but I'd be kind of surprised to see no mention at all on the box of what's sort of in there. So that's fine. Should be shrink wrapped. That's kind of a bit of a miss in terms of what we would consider best practice in card games. Counting the number of packs, there are 8 and 8. Yeah, so just make sure. I think the packs come in Elsa and Maleficent and Mickey Mouse, so that's pretty cool. And then yeah, let's start. So the hits are kind of like the enchanted cards, I guess, which are extended art, hollow, rare cards and versions of specific things. The packs feel normal. They don't feel like they've learned or lost anything from other trading card games, though I will say that other modern games like Flesh and Blood, for example, have started to use paper packaging, which is something I would be really keen to see. These are art cards, so you can put them together to make art if that's something that interests you. I think it's pretty cool. So in terms of what we're looking at in the game, so there are multiple colors. You can only play 2 of a specific color in your deck. There are 3 types of Disney characters. You've got storyborn characters, which are characters as they appeared in the Disney story. You have dreamborn characters, which are characters that have been imagined by these people called the Lumineers, and they're basically variants of the characters that you would expect to see, so that you might have seen in other stories that weren't as canon. And then you've got Floodborn, which are basically just random variants of the character that, you know, are doing stuff you wouldn't necessarily expect to see. Yeah, I have just started, Dan. just started. So some of these characters are based. You've got their cost up here, attack, defense, and this is how much they quest for. If you haven't looked at the mechanics of the game, basically you win by questing with your characters. You tap them and you add as much lore as there are pips here to your lore pile, and when you have 20, you win the game immediately. There are sort of all the iconic characters you'd expect to see, so Aladdin, Minnie Mouse. You know, this is kind of what we meant in terms of these are all like storyborn, so these are all iconic characters. Horace from 101 Dalmatians. And then you've got Hercules True Hero, which is a Dreamborn. So it's like Hercules imagined more as a... Like, if you remember in the Hercules film, this is him imagining himself like as a hero, but he wasn't necessarily a hero, right? And those are all the commons. On the uncommon front, I think we have Anna, and then the Mad Hatter. It's a bit fun. So Alice in Wonderland mixed in as well. We have Chief Tui, so Moana's in here. Hans, which should be my rares, I think. And then if it's not Baroque, which is from that. And then our foil for the pack is a common Timon. One cost character. When you play this character, you move 1 damage from a chosen character. Okay, so he just heals a friend a little bit. The art's quite good. I really like The Lion King, by the way. If we're talking about what of the films I really like that I would really enjoy seeing, things like The Lion King or Hercules or Moana, I would say are the 3 that I'm most excited by. I really liked Moana when I saw it last year. Not last year. Whenever it came out. I'm not that old. So I really liked Moana when I saw it. So anything Moana related would be really good. I guess Robin Hood, maybe to an extent. I'm not nearly so much a fan of stuff like 101 Dalmatians. Frozen's all right, I guess. But for me, like the attraction, partly just things like The Lion King and stuff like that, is kind of good. But I'm less into some of the older stuff, really, like the Snow White and things like that. Ooh, White Rabbit's Pocket Watch. That's kind of fun. It's like Alice in Wonderland. Chosen character gains rush. That means they can attack on the turn they came in. Maleficent. So is this a rare or is this a rare? Seems like there's like 4 rarities. So common, uncommon, rare, maybe mythic rare or something like that. I haven't really looked into it. And then my rainbow foil is a Sharky, which is it a pirate from Peter Pan, or is it a pirate from something else? I think it might be from something else. Anyway. What legendaries would I like to hit? Simba. Anything Simba related would be pretty cool. Or like Pumbaa. There we go. I like Pumbaa. I don't know if he's any good. So one of the things I find tricky with a card game like this is that while you might have a favorite character. Ooh, Tinkerbell. I think that's a good one. Ooh, Tinkerbell and a Stitch. So these are both legendaries, I think. Or are they just rares? Why don't I need to bring up the rarity. That's what I need to do. Right, before I get lost in this. Let's just bring up the rarity Lorcana. I should have looked this up before we got into it. Right. Okay, so then I can sort these properly. So. Yeah, so commons. Uncommons are these ones. Okay. These are rares. What are the shields? The shields are... Oh, no, okay. So common, uncommon, rare, legendary... Oh, and super rare. Okay, so these kind of slot in here in the middle. Either way, I think Tinkerbell is actually quite good. And I love the art, which is just a giant Tinkerbell just hovering over the area. So let's swap the commons and uncommons off the screen. And then I can put my legendaries, rainbow foils, and super rares up at the top. and then you can have a bit of a look at them as I pull them out. It's a shame it doesn't look like there's more than one type of art card in here, or everything is just Mickey Mouse. But I guess it is the House of Mouse. So from what I've seen of the game so far, like the commons are actually very, very playable. So that's really good from a casual perspective. Ooh, Mickey Mouse. Very nice. This is the Artful Rogue. He's one of the Floodborn, so he's like what Mickey Mouse would be if he was more of a sneaky character, you know. But he's not actually that in any of the stories, right? It kind of just lets the designers get to be a bit creative about what they want. Magic Golden Flower. Goofy. I think Goofy is quite good. Hey, hey. This is the boat snack. The boat, yeah. It's pretty tasty. Freeze. Fire the cannons. I assume that's going to be good because it's damage. Evasion. Cheshire Cat. I do like the Alice in Wonderland stuff. I do like the Dreamborn stuff as well, which is like, you know, people doing stuff you wouldn't expect. Oh, a genie. And an Aladdin Prince Ali, which I think is kind of good. I wish I'd get the focus a little better, but that is what we're working with, unfortunately, today. Prince Ali, handsome is he, Ali of Babwa. Strong as 10 regular men. He's got a sword. Is probably not a good card. Anyway, that's fine. Ah, Jafar. This is Jafar if he had won. You know, Wicked Sorcerer. I've been playing a few games of this, and like the dynamics are fun. It's like not as fast as other card games, but still like quite enjoyable. Can I say, like, You Have Forgotten Me, which is like, this is a moment from my childhood right here. One of the first films I saw in the cinema was The Lion King, and I will say that I recently went to see The Lion King on the West End, and it was absolutely fantastic. So if you haven't seen The Lion King on the West End, I would fully recommend it. I feel like that is just a really enjoyable sort of thing that you can do. Just need to fix something. And we're just chilling. I'm not gonna like cover Lorcana silly amounts unless it gets huge. I'm a fond of the game. I've been playing a little bit of it, but you know, to cover another card game to the depth that I cover something like Flesh and Blood really just isn't possible. But you know, if I enjoy it more than I think I do, or you know, all these kind of things, then ooh, we got a Rainbow Foil Elsa. This is a common one, but the art's really good. I am quite fond of Frozen. Not just because, like, you know, it's... Frozen is one of those things where the music is just so good, it's hard to hate it, you know? So, yeah, you just end up watching it and just having a good time, even if you, like, didn't know it. And I think that's one of the things that made it resonate as well with... I think that's what makes it resonate as well with... you know, parents who take their kids to watch it as well. This is like the classic Mickey Mouse, isn't it? True Friends. He's original. Tigger. Ah, so there's Winnie the Pooh in here as well. That's pretty interesting. I think you sometimes forget, like, how much Disney owns. The answer is a lot. Disney owns a lot. Ah, Iago. Okay, so my first rare foil is Iago, a character who I think is very fun. Definitely hilarious. That's good. Again, not really sure if he's any good yet. But that's what I mean, Andrew. Like, once you get over the weirdness that some people have about, oh, you can't like musicals and things like that because you're a grown man, it's like there is just a world of fun out there. And this stuff is designed, like, by very, very smart people to be psychologically uplifting, right? You know, because I'm not a brony, or I'm not like any of those kind of things. I watch a bit of anime here and there, and I enjoy that kind of stuff sometimes, and I play card games, obviously. But my point is that, like, there's nothing wrong with enjoying something that someone has written to be good and catchy, right? And if it makes you feel good, then who cares, right? There's some people out there who are like stuck on their religion or things like that to have, you know, to have a good time and to feel good. And some people out there who are just watching cartoons and enjoying things. So I got Belle, and I think Belle I find very, very interesting. I've seen this card already. So you can basically charge an additional card a turn into your resource pool. And when you have 10 or more cards, she can quest for 5. So she's kind of like a late game engine to try and win. Ooh, Healing Glow. That's really nice. You definitely think of me as a total frat bro. I think, Dan, you and I both know that that is not the case. When I was in university and I was like doing more sports, maybe I was a bit more hardcore. But these days, I am just trying to be as nice as possible to everyone. Elsa, Mad Hatter, Scepter of Arendelle is interesting. The items they put in this game. Ooh, Mother Gothel. I don't know who that is. Well, I don't think I've ever actually seen. This is from Rapunzel, isn't it? I don't think I've ever actually seen Rapunzel. Well, I was going to say, Andrew, like, it doesn't really matter, right? You know, the problem with all of these things are the people who make that thing toxic. Like, if no one's making it toxic, if they're just chilling and having a good time, then it doesn't really matter what they're into, right? Because for every, well, no, maybe not for every guy that's into Disney, there's a girl that's into Disney. But my point is that for every, you know, gender neutral slash, no, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that there's everyone out there for every different type of thing, right? Not that you're defined by relationships. My point is that people will like you when you're into something, even if you're, you know, even if it's a niche, right? As long as you just find other people who are in your niche and you're engaging in it in a positive way, nothing else really matters. Oh, we have a Hades. Okay, I like Hades. This is a traditional Hades character who I think is quite fun. Mickey Mouse, okay. Mickey Mouse Detective, very nice. I've seen that card be used quite well, actually, because it basically what it does is get you an extra resource from the top of your deck. Dan, I think it would be very hard for you to be a weeb or cringe. I mean, you're just too enjoying yourself. You know, you're too I don't know. It's just too chill about everything. You know, and your fancy dress and your everything like that. Captain Hook. Oh, here's what I am actually quite excited for. I think this Robin Hood art is fantastic. Yeah. Abilities are alright. Oh, we have a Simba. Okay. 2/3 with Bodyguard. I like it. This is young Simba. And of course there's that mechanic in the game where you can shift young versions into old versions. So if you're running Simba at a more expensive cost, you might just play him. And what that lets you do, which is quite interesting, is like not have to put resources in, because normally to play the 5-cost Simba, you'd have to get up to 5 resources. But if you had these on the table, you could just stop at 3 and then play it, which is interesting. The Emperor's New Groove was surprisingly a low-key hit, right? I mean, you know, if you think about films that surprised you, that were actually like secretly super enjoyable, I think The Emperor's New Groove was one of those, right? Oh, Mulan. Now, Mulan, fantastic. Even before Tigger. We're talking about movies of my childhood. Mulan is definitely one, definitely up there, right? You know, in terms of like being classic. Are these really all just Mickey Mouse? That's a bit of a missed opportunity, right? I don't need 20 cards of the same artwork. Um, we got the grown-up Simba. Ooh, a Sword of Truth. Yeah, that could be interesting. It's quite expensive. Musketeer Tabard, yeah. And You Have Forgotten Me in foil, which is quite nice. Still no sign of one of those super mega shiny cards, but I'm sure we'll get there eventually. There's a Goofy. I have seen when someone was building like a Musketeers deck, which I think would be delightful. Depends what factions the Musketeers are in, but maybe there's a card that will let you play them all at some point in the future. Just in time. Oh, okay, the Genie again. And then a Pascal. So common foils. I'm sure someone is going to like them. And I will say about the foils is they do all look like they are cold foils, which people from other TCGs will know means that they don't have a rainbow foiling effect, which is kind of important because they're less likely to curl. So it's interesting that they've made that decision, but they haven't done things like shrink wrapping on the boxes and stuff like that. So it's kind of like you make one modern TCG decision and then you forget to make another 2 or 3. So Hades there. This is the Floodborn Hades. This is Hades if he was King of Olympus, which I think is quite fun. And then Aurora, Shift 3. So every character gets Ward, which is pretty cool. And then A Whole New World, which I think is our first rainbow foil super rare. Obviously the art on this is really good because it's Aladdin and Jasmine flying over the thing. A whole new world. Right. That's what I mean. This is why when I say this is a very fun product for me to open, is because Disney is so present in a lot of your life that you can really get into this. And the card design is super modern as well, which is, you know, something that a lot of, if you look like back at other Disney TCGs, they didn't really capture well. And then the fact that they haven't like made themselves stick to like traditional what the Disney characters look like in films, I think is a big deal as well. There's the Let It Go. There's everything we expected to see. Put chosen character into their player's inkwell face down exerted. So you play that, they lose a character, but they gain a resource. And then we have Wardrobe, which is yeah. I'm not the biggest fan of Beauty and the Beast. Like, the first song in it is quite good, you know. But after that, it kind of just, I don't know. Kill the Beast, whatever. It's just not really my... I feel like he doesn't really, you know, I don't really care about the Beast that much. I don't really care about the story. And I think it was aided by the fact that I haven't really been that keen to watch the new film they made out about it either. Tamatoa. Now, Tamatoa I quite like. A very brief character to show up in Moana, but still kind of interesting. And then that rainbow foil. Well, so Andrew, the thing for me about music is that growing up in Ireland and coming from a reasonably musical family is that music is one of the main ways that I interacted with sort of like history and family history and Irish history and things like that. So when it comes to like resonance with songs in a game like this, I would say mine is probably higher than a lot of the average person of my age. And I mean, obviously for kids it's different. They're going to resonate very well with the songs and the films that came out when they were kids. But I feel like for me it sticks around a lot more because I just have that ongoing memory. So this is my first rainbow foil super rare or legendary. I don't think this is a enchanted or whatever they call it, but it's still pretty shiny. And I mean, is it any good? It's got Rush, which I think is pretty good. When you play this character, exert all opposing characters. Wow. Okay, so for those of you who haven't been following the game as much, when you play a character, you can't like you can't just use it straight away, right? That's pretty common in card games. So it has summoning sickness or the ink's still wet or whatever you want to call it. But if they have rush, they can attack people on the turn you play them. They can't quest because that would mean that you could just play a character and then win the game. So they have to sort of delay things in that respect, but they can challenge people. But the problem, of course, is that you can't challenge people who aren't exerted. So someone might have something at the back that's protecting them, and really you just don't have an option to challenge that person until you... Oh, there's Lilo. Okay, 1-1. Nice. Until they use them for something. But obviously this beast character is going to exert all of their characters, so you basically can attack anyone who they're saving back and protect, which I think is quite fun. No. Lilo Galactic Hero. That's kind of interesting. That is very interesting. I don't know if I can see adult men playing this competitively. I will say that, like, I feel like this to me doesn't yet have the complexity required for a competitive game. And maybe some people will disagree with me, but having played a few games with what are considered the best decks from pre-release, so, you know, people online speculating and playing on that digital client, like, to me, this game does not currently have the depth of play to be a solid competitive game. That's not to say that it couldn't be later on. Ooh, Brave Little Tailor. Okay, so it's Mickey Mouse. Pretty good. It's interesting that your 8-year-old said that she couldn't see adult men playing it competitively. If we think about what drives competitive TCG play, right? There's a few things. There's setting, right? So a lot of people getting into the game for the scene. This game attracts people because they have the childhood nostalgia factor, and also because it's a game that some of their friends who are less into regular card games might be into. You know, you can play it with your kids. You can play it with your spouse maybe who likes Disney but doesn't necessarily like, doesn't like card games like Flesh and Blood and things like that. But, you know, you have some reach there. Okay, it's a Rainbow Foil Lilo. That's pretty cute. You have some reach there to reach new markets, and that might get people into it, right? You know, through that method. And once people are playing it, if the game has good mechanics, and if the game puts up a good OP scene, so, you know, if it's a friendly place where people can play on a regular basis, and there are good prizes, you know, in terms of promos and things people want to see, then, you know, you can have a good... so no enchanted in this box. You can have a good environment without necessarily, you know, needing to have all the best prizes in the world and all this other kind of stuff. But also, you know, they could get around that by just putting a load of money behind the, you know, behind the tournament scene. And then you'll see how quickly all the adult men will show up if there's a second they have a, you know, if they have a 10 grand tournament circuit or something like that. You know, I mean, you can even get people playing MetaZoo if you do that. So, yeah. Once again, just going to count some boosters. Make sure we've got 24 because you can sneak them out of the box, unfortunately. And yeah, there we go. So just 2 boxes today, but you know, we're just having a bit of fun. It's not always about Flesh and Blood. It's not always about super serious card games. It might just be about playing some Lorcana. Ursula is very good, by the way. I have played against her. I think she is very good. She's hard to play because she costs 7, but when you play her, you steal 1 lore from everyone. And then you draw a card for each of the lore you stole. So in a multiplayer game, she's just like, oh, well, I hit 7. So I guess I get 3 lore or something and draw 3 cards. She's really, really good. Hans. And then Fire the Cannons, which is going to be a staple, but still only a common rare. Rainbow Foil. A-dum-dum-dum. The Shell Necklace, Corella DeVille, and a super rare foil Aladdin. Okay. I feel like people will like Aladdin. I feel like that's a pretty good character. Again, like, not really. It's kind of funny, but the strength of Aladdin is its music and not actually the characters of the story. And part of that is just Robin Williams knocking it out of the park, but part of that is also just, you know, even in the remake they did, the music was one of the really good ones. Hakuna Matata. Remove 3 damage from each other character. Basically heal your entire board. Yeah, again, like, can I just point out how disappointed I am that these are all the same? Like, you open 2 boxes and you basically end up with 30 or 40 different art cards of the same thing. Like, they could have put 3 or 4 different characters on this. It's a bit of a missed opportunity and kind of like a big miss, actually. Because that means that there's just 1 card in each pack that just I'm never happy to see. Poisoned Apple. That's a rare foil, so let's just sleeve that. Banish this item, exert chosen character. Instead, banish her so you can kill princesses, right? With poisoned apples. I guess there'll be some... That seems more like a thematic thing. I don't know if there'll be decks that desperately need princesses to win. Jasper. Another mouse musketeer. I like it. Tekka. Tekka is from Moana. No spoilers. We won't talk about spoilers here. May have stolen the heart from inside you. Da, 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 da. Ah, there we have her herself. Moana of Motunui. Polynesian history is absolutely fascinating, so if ever you are wondering or finding yourself with a free afternoon and thinking about something you could read, you should read about Polynesian history, specifically focused, I think, around something called the Great Pause, which is theorized that due to changes in wind and weather conditions, essentially the Polynesians stopped exploring for a while, like a period of, I think, about 1,000 years. Originally, they had spread all throughout the Polynesian islands, as far as Hawaii to like down by Malaysia and the Philippines. And the thing is that, like, they did that by celestial navigation and following specific, like, sea routes, like the North Atlantic Drift and things like that. And at some point those changed and they kind of stopped for a while until they rediscovered the way to get to places. And I mean, none of the books I could read could say exactly why they thought that happened, but that's exactly what's charted in Moana, is that they've forgotten how to move from island to island, but their island is obviously getting sick for whatever reason. And then they need to find a way. A whole new world again. Ooh, Lady Tremaine. So this is Cinderella. Again, Cinderella's not really one of the ones that resonated well with me, but it's not a bad story. I just really struggle with those older Disney cartoons because they don't look that good anymore. And they were kind of old when I was young, so I never really got into them. Whereas something like The Lion King that was a bit more modern kind of made a lot more sense. Scar. I like Scar as well. Again, this is just like, if you haven't seen The Lion King the musical in person, I would fully recommend it. Still no Enchanteds, but we're holding out hope. No, Aurora. I mean, Aurora's like, she's fine. Sleeping Beauty. Is it funny that Sleeping Beauty was asleep, but so was Snow White? Another Genie, Tangled. Never seen Tangled. again, those classic fairy tales just aren't as interesting to me anymore. And I mean, okay, you could argue, yes, the Lion King is basically Macbeth, but you know, you could say that, and you would be correct, but also go away. That's it, really. That's it, really. So, oh, there we go. So what exactly is an enchanted, right? I mean, this is a rainbow foil legendary. Do they have like alt art or something? They're probably borderless, I imagine. Either way, I'm not going to complain about opening Elsa. She is very, very good because she stops their opponent from questing in a very powerful way. A bit of Mad Hatter action. Another super legendary. Lilo and Stitch again is another one that just didn't really resonate. Keep in mind that being 33, so Lilo and Stitch came out when I was in my teens, but it was still on around the house. I have younger siblings, so I have one younger sibling who is 7 years younger than me, so I do have a decent exposure to the Disney vibes, as they say. Hannah Montana. I mean, she did alright for herself in the end. Cinderella. Okay, Captain Hook, Lilo, and Stitch. That's a bit of a funny coincidence, just to go Lilo and then Stitch. Musketeer, Tabard, Aurora, and Stampede. I don't think I've seen a Stampede yet, which is funny because it's common, so statistically I should have. Another Hans, and then Chief Tui. Alright, we've got 3 packs left. Still some time for some last pack magic. Still some time. Work together. And the thing is, if I don't open an enchanted, that's almost even better, because too many people, we have this thing when TCGs first get opened about positive confirmation bias, where too many people are opening the really, really good cards, and then you're like, well, I didn't. And then you get really upset when actually the reality is that you don't really open the shiny, super rare cards like that often. And you get these boxes that don't actually have all of them in. So you might not get the holographic whatever. I mean, that's a double super rare pack, so we're not going to be complaining. And we also have Jafar, Keeper of Secrets, who's a +1 power for each card in your hand, but on turn 4 that might not be that many. There we go. So that is 2 boxes of Lorcana. This is pretty much all I'm opening. I will probably build a Lorcana deck just to have some fun with my friends, using these, and of course using, just buying some singles if I need to. I don't think I need to open any more boxes. In terms of we'll call them shiny hits. So we got, Elsa and the Beast as our 2 legendary foils. We got some rare foils in there. And then the other legendaries we got, Stitch, Gantu, whoever that is, Mickey Mouse, John Silver, 2 Ursulas, which is great, another Mickey Mouse, a Belle, and a Millicent. So, yeah, I think that's quite good. Yeah. The cards look great, the art looks great. I haven't had any quality control issues in my packs, though I've seen a few in others. It's just quite a fun game. I think I'll play a bit of it casually. And, I mean, if they bring out a massive OP scene and it's a really fun place to be, then maybe I'll play it a bit more, but who knows. This, as I've kind of been saying to people, for me, and my final sort of take on Lorcana so far, is that this is very much an open canvas, right? Ravensburger and Disney, depending on how much Disney are paying, how much Ravensburger are paying for the license, like, Ravensburger is, like, massively printing, no, this is 2 boxes, Dan. 2 boxes with 11 legendaries. Yeah. So, and two of them are shiny. So, they're sort of printing themselves a blank check to write to, like, with a ton of money, right? And everything that matters really is what happens in the next 2 sets, right? If they make the game better and they bring out more and they add more to it and they make more mechanics and more of an in-depth competitive game, then they could be on a really solid footing, to move into the future if they bring out organized play and stuff like that. If they, they don't necessarily have to do that, but, or if they just double down on this being a kid's game and add a load more characters. But I will say this, and this is quite interesting, is that the Disney universe is deep, but it's not as deep as, like, people think it is, right? Within this first set, we already have most of our core characters from most of the main films that people would recognize. You've got your Tangles, you've got your Little Mermaids, you've got your Moanas, your Frozens, your Snow Whites, your 101 Dalmatians. Like, people are already going to be so interested in so many variations on those cards, like so many Floodborn versions of thing, right before they're like, well, I've kind of seen that already. So the game does need to differentiate itself by kind of leaning heavily into mechanics and becoming a better game, I think, in the next few sets. Because otherwise, I think there is a danger that people will be like, well, yeah, cool, but I've got my Aladdin deck now. And then really all they're going to do is buy singles whenever a new Aladdin card comes out. And they're not really going to be actually buying any more of the game because the game won't change that much, right? That's a risk with theme games like this, is that... So, for me, I like the Lion King. I might just build my Simba Lion King deck, and then I probably just won't update it, And they're planning to put out 4 sets a year, but they're probably not going to get me buying 2 boxes of the next set. I just did this to have a look at it, but, I'll be very surprised if I buy some of the next product. I think that's something they're going to have to do, sort of fighting a bit against the tide of people who, have their happiness, they have their characters, and, like, how do we give it to them again? Like, basically sell them the same character again, but in a different outfit, right? Which works for Barbie, I guess, so it probably works for Disney too, but it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. All right, that's it for Lorcana. I'm going to go and do some cooking. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And, of course, this was fun. Good luck in all of your games and your, however you decide to build things.